Today we're going to be addressing a problem that we've been having with this Toyota engine that I think most 4Runners are going to have at some point or another. Fixity fix! It's time for another oil change on our 5th generation 4Runner. You can watch our complete video on a Toyota 4Runner oil change with the link down below. Couple of clever tools here. The Stalbus drain system for the oil pan, and then this oil drain hose for the oil filter housing. Keeps the job relatively neat. Links for those two things in the description, and a more full demonstration of their use in our previous 4Runner oil change video. After almost 90,000 miles of use, this black plastic oil filter housing on the front of the engine that we're draining has worn out, and it's time to replace it. Now, with the appropriate oil filter housing socket, we take out the old plastic oil filter housing, and it's been putting up more and more resistance each time as the plastic becomes deteriorated and has swollen with all the different heating cycles that this engine has been through. You can tell this thing's putting up a fight. I'm having to strain a little bit more than I should to screw it out. Even though I've drained the housing, I'm keeping an oil drain pan underneath just in case a little more oil comes out. It usually does. And there is the oil filter housing. Let's get it to the workbench. I can't use the lift right now because we've been sort of stalled by the effects of Hurricane Helene. We lost a tree and got pretty lucky with where it fell. It didn't take out the house or the garage or any of us. So, stuck using the ramps out here in the yard. Kind of brings back the old days. Hundreds of heat cycles on this engine has caused this plastic oil filter housing to deform. Toyota does make an aluminum filter housing, and that's what we're going to use to replace this old plastic housing. And this one wants to be tightened to 25 Newton meters rather than using the indicator clip. This thing got harder and harder to remove and replace over the years that we've had the car. While the housing bodies are the same size and thread pitch, the center screens for the oil filters are different. It's shorter in the metal version here, so it's important to switch out the center screens. These screens just pop out and they're spring loaded. A little pressure in and back. It comes apart just like that. Longer screen in, new filter element, new O-ring on the drain port. This will get zipped to 9 foot-pounds when we put it on the car. New O-ring with a little bit of oil on it. Since the first edition here had autofocus problems, you can actually see what I'm doing this time. Now this guy goes back on the car. 9 foot-pounds for this drain plug, 18 foot-pounds to put this back on the car. Our torque spec on this filter housing drain plug is 9 foot-pounds, and the torque spec on the entire housing here is 18 foot-pounds, or 25.5 Newton meters. See if we can get you a view. Not so easy to see. Screws right in, and now we torque it down. We're set to 18 foot-pounds. Just so you get a sense of what I'm doing here. And that's tightened to 18 foot-pounds using the Toyota filter housing wrench. Actually a little simpler than putting in the plastic housing, as long as you're familiar with how to use a torque wrench. I don't know about you, but to me, I find the metal housing to be a lot more reassuring than the plastic housing, especially as that plastic housing was becoming brittle and deformed and more poorly fitting over time. This is the part where we put everything back together. I've said so in our full oil change video for this vehicle, but I sure am glad to have this aftermarket skid plate. It makes changing the oil, and especially the oil filter, so much easier and quicker. Kind of looks cool too. I'm going to leave you, as usual, a bunch of links in the description for all the gadgets and parts that I used here. Always recycle that used motor oil. 6.6 quarts of the Toyota brand 0W20 motor oil. I've tried all kinds of different brands of 0W20 synthetic in this rig, and by far the quietest running oil is the Toyota 0W20. Here's a really good example why it's a great idea to A, check for leaks when you change oil or do any procedure on the car, but before that, to take a look around with your flashlight and see if you might have missed anything. It seems like an oil bottle cap got away from me while I was running my mouth and filling up the engine with engine oil. It's right in here behind this pulley. Let's see if we can extricate this thing. Look at that. I don't imagine it would have caused much damage, but it could have gotten in here between the belt and the pulley and maybe thrown the serpentine belt. The job's not done until we've checked it for leaks. No leaks. Let's reset this oil light. 2 clicks for accessory mode. Odometer trip A. Car off. Hold the odometer button here and then back to accessory mode while holding it. That's pretty simple. Thanks for riding along this time on Fixity Fix. We've left some links in the description for all the products and tools we've used. If you use those links, it won't cost you anything more, but the channel gets a small commission, and that helps us out. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like and maybe even subscribing so that you get notified when we drop future episodes. See you next time.